you really need to make sure that you are hiring someone with the experience to actually handle one of these cases.
Are you sharing the road with unsafe big rigs and drivers? That's what we're going to ask on this episode of Ask the Lawyer. Hi, I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com. My guest is attorney Brian Davis of the Davis Law Group in Asheville, North Carolina. Brian, thank you for making some time for us today. I appreciate it.
Sure. Good to be here. Thank you.
So I assume there are some conditions on the road that are more dangerous, make accidents for big rigs and trucks more likely. Fill us in there.
Yeah, there certainly are. They're called in truck driver lingo hazardous conditions. It can involve anything from rain to ice to sleet, snow, fog, dust, anything that makes driving more dangerous than normal for truck drivers. And generally the way they talk about it is if it affects visibility or traction, then it's hazardous.
Now, I know one thing about truck drivers and trucking in general. There's a lot of rules and regulations on the federal level and on down. Are there rules about what kind of conditions they can drive in or how they're supposed to react to certain conditions?
Yeah, there's actually one very specific regulation under the federal motor carrier safety regs. It's called 392.14, and it's called hazardous conditions. And it basically says if truck drivers are driving and they encounter hazardous conditions, then they must use extreme caution. And that generally means for truck drivers, you've got to slow your rig down anywhere from a third to half of your traveling speed.
And when there are collisions in these sort of conditions, is it hard to determine how much is operator error or what is just because of bad conditions, or is it always operator error because they should have accounted for those conditions?
Well, that's you hit the nail on the head. It is operator error in the vast majority of crashes that happen during these hazardous conditions because, all of us are on the roads with trucks all the time and in various conditions, rain, snow, sleet, what have you. And how many times are you driving down the road and there's a truck driver going by you and you just go, you got to be kidding me. He's going faster than I am. And, that truck driver is breaking the rules. He's violating the federal regulations. And it's those kinds of truck drivers who just ignore these rules that cause these crashes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that in general, Brian, because we've all driven in conditions that we go, wow, I need to slow down. This doesn't feel like very safe conditions. Why is it even worse for somebody who's driving a big rig?
Well, 18-wheelers, tractor trailers, they're so much heavier than the vehicles we drive. They can weigh up to 80,000 pounds and they're much larger, much longer. And because of the configuration, the weight and the size, it makes it a lot more difficult to slow these trucks and stop these trucks, especially, if there's a hazardous condition. Rain, sleet, snow, these things make traction questionable. And if a truck driver is driving and the roads are a little slick, they can't stop in the usual distance it takes them. And remember, it usually takes at least 100 yards. That's 300 feet minimum to stop one of these big rigs.
So what is the motivation, Brian, in your experience? You've had a lot of experience with truck accident cases. What is the motivation? Why would they risk themselves and others? Why drive unsafely?
Well, again, in truck driver lingo, if the wheels aren't rolling, they're not making any money. The goods aren't getting to their destination. They're not getting paid. Their truck companies aren't making money. So it's really about money.
So they're just weighing the risk versus the reward?
Yeah, it's sort of, profits over safety, if you will.
Do you find that sometimes the companies are encouraging the drivers to operate in an unsafe manner?
Well, I'd like to tell you no, that never happens. But unfortunately, in my experience, it does more often than you think. We've had numerous cases where we found, direct evidence of companies either encouraging and in sometimes even requiring truck drivers to violate these rules just to keep the wheels rolling.
If someone's injured, because more than likely, if you're in a collision with a vehicle of that size, there's going to be injuries. Why is it important they contact an attorney and especially an attorney who has truck accident experience?
Well, two things. First, it's important that people contact an attorney as soon as they can. There's a lot of important evidence within the truck itself, and that evidence oftentimes either gets erased or destroyed. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that, people are dealing with usually very serious injuries and, unfortunately, even death in these cases. So they've got a lot on their plates. And, it's hard to think when you're in this horrible, horrible situation. I also need to be thinking about the legal side of this. So, there's a lot of things there that sort of make it difficult for folks to reach out and ask a lawyer to help.
What if in all that, like you say, a horrible situation, Brian, they're thinking, I can't afford a truck accident, truck collision specialist, attorney to handle this. What do you say to that?
Well, that's really not the case, because lawyers like myself who handle these cases, we handle them on a contingency fee basis. That means there's no attorney's fee unless we actually make a recovery for the client. So clients don't need to worry about lawyers' fees. They don't need to worry about expenses. All of that stuff is taken care of, and it's very easy to hire an attorney in one of these cases. The really important thing is, though, that for folks who need a truck accident lawyer, you really need to make sure that you are hiring someone with the experience to actually handle one of these cases. This is not just a normal motor vehicle crash case. This is a complex case that needs expertise in trucking law.
Brian, as usual, a lot of great information and some eye-opening information, too. Thank you so much for answering our questions today.
Glad to help. Take care.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Attorney Brian Davis of North Carolina. If you want the best information about truck accidents, or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, make sure to visit askthelawyer.com. Also, please take a sec to like, share, and subscribe below. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com.